So, if you've got a fitness tracker or a smartwatch, you're part of this huge movement to, quantify your life. But here's a question. What if all that data is giving you a picture that's incredibly precise, but also fundamentally incomplete? Today, we're going to dive into that critical gap between the mountains of data we collect and the actual meaning we're all looking for. You've probably seen a screen just like this one. Your watch buzzes, you glance down, and it tells you your recovery is in the tank, your stress is high, or you're under a high load. It's a really familiar, simple notification. But behind that simplicity, well, there's a much, much deeper question hiding. Think about it. Your device knows the what. It knows you only got 4 hours of sleep. It saw that heart rate spike at 2 p.m. It logged that low recovery score. It collects all these physiological facts with incredible accuracy. But what it doesn't know, what it has no idea about, is why. Was it a late night with friends, a crushing work deadline, or maybe a sign of some deeper chronic strain? Without that why, all the what in the world is really just noise. And this right here gets to the absolute core of the problem with wearables today. We are literally drowning in precise biometric data, but the advice we get back is so generic. Try to relax, get more sleep. Thanks, I guess. It's not truly actionable because it's completely missing that crucial context, that why. This brings us to a really important distinction. It's kind of like your car's check engine light coming on, but without the diagnostic code to tell you what's actually wrong. What our watches give us is what you see on the left, physiological telemetry. That's the raw data, the numbers telling us what happened. What we're missing is on the right, the structural interpretation. That's the code, that's the framework that finally tells us why. Okay, so how do we actually bridge this gap? The answer is to build that missing framework. And this requires a pretty radical shift in how we think. We have to stop treating stress as just some vague feeling and start treating it like a measurable physical force, just like an engineer would. And that leads us to this key concept, structural load. Now, this isn't about asking, hey, how stressed do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? No way. This is a quantifiable calculation of the total pressure your entire life system, your work, your health, your relationships, is carrying. It's a number, not just a mood. This slide just visualizes the problem perfectly. You see all that rich data from our wearables? HRV, sleep, stress? It's all flowing towards this big black box in the middle, this missing framework. The entire industry has pretty much perfected data collection. The real opportunity now is building the interpretive engine that finally makes it all mean something. So here's how that framework turns into a concrete, trackable metric. Instead of a vague good or bad day, you get a specific number. A score from 0 to 20, your system is in a good supportive state. But a score over 61, that indicates a critical load, a point where you need reinforcement. For the very first time, this makes your relational and systemic health as measurable as, say, your credit score or your blood pressure. All right, so we have this concept of structural load. That's great. But how do we actually connect it to the data our watch is already collecting? That's where the tech comes in. Let's take a look at something called the Human Relational Interface, or HRI. I want you to think of the HRI as a kind of translation engine. Over on the left, you've got the raw inputs your device captures, things like HRV suppression, compressed sleep, cortisol proxies. These signals all feed into that central HRI engine. And what comes out on the right? It's not just more data, it's a diagnosis, a specific structural meaning.
Let's make this real with a few examples. So, if the system sees your resting heart rate has been elevated for days, it doesn't just tell you you're stressed. It identifies environmental load, meaning external pressure is the probable cause. Or, what if it sees your HRV drops every time you have a period of high cognitive work? It flags center cell depletion. Basically, you're running out of personal capacity. You see the difference? It's an observation versus a real insight.
The way this HRI engine thinks is in 3 basic steps. First, and this is so important, it classifies signals against your personal baseline, not some generic population average. Second, it maps any weird deviation to its most likely structural cause. And third, it generates a crystal clear output, your precise load percentage and which part of your life structure is under the most strain. It's an active diagnostic system, not a passive tracker. So we have this incredibly powerful new way of understanding ourselves. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, the applications are amazing, and they scale from you as an individual all the way up to large organizations and even robotics. So on a personal level, this is huge. You just glance at your watch and see a number. Let's say it's 47, which instantly tells you you're under high load. This isn't just another stat to ignore. It's an early warning system for burnout. It gives you a real chance to make changes before a structural problem becomes a full-blown crisis.
But it doesn't stop with just you. Imagine sharing this data within a partnership or a small team of work. You could actually see a load differential, where one person is carrying way more of the load long before anyone ever says a word about it. It makes those invisible, unspoken dynamics in relationships and teams totally visible and measurable.
Now, scale that up to the enterprise level. This becomes a strategic tool. Leadership can get a real-time, big-picture, structural map of the entire organization. They can see which teams are getting close to burnout and step in proactively. This totally changes corporate wellness from just a reactive perk to a proactive strategic advantage.
And the applications in high-stakes jobs are just immense. For military personnel who can't just admit they're under strain, their body can report it for them. In healthcare, this could be an objective measure of staff burnout, transforming hospital wellness programs from putting out fires to preventing them in the first place. And that brings us to what might just be the most fascinating and maybe even futuristic application of all: building a totally new kind of partnership with machines. Check this out. This is the Robot Behavior Adjustment Matrix, and it shows exactly how it works. It's basically a set of rules where a robot dynamically changes its behavior based on its human operator's live structural load. So if your load is low, you have full control. But as your load increases and your capacity goes down, the robot starts to take over routine decisions. And if you hit a critical load state, it can actually initiate a safe state protocol, taking full autonomy to prevent a catastrophic mistake. This whole partnership is captured in what's called a bi-directional loop. The system reads the human's real-time load state from their wearable, the AI engine crunches the numbers, and the robot adjusts its level of assistance and even how complex its interface is. What you have is a machine that understands the invisible strain of its human partner and adapts on the fly. This changes literally everything about how we think of robotics. The machine is no longer just a passive tool waiting for you to tell it what to do. It becomes a structurally aware collaborator, actively working to support its human partner and actually mitigate their load. We are standing on the verge of giving our technology the ability to understand our internal structural reality. And that leaves us with a pretty profound question to think about. If our devices, our workplaces, and even our machines can finally see and respond to our invisible burdens, how will that change the way we live, the way we work, and ultimately, the way we connect with one another?